Hello everyone and welcome back to Just Finish Coding. This is part 7 of our Sudoku series which we're programming on Scratch 3. So without further ado, let's get right into it.
Just finished coding.
I have to interject right here that if you've not watched parts 1 to 6, please watch them before you come here, because as you can see, I'm picking up from where I left off, and for this video to make sense, you need to have watched the previous ones. I'll leave a card for you right here. Please watch the videos and then come right back. If you're still here, I'm going to assume that you've watched parts 1 to 6, in which case you should have quite a bit of your game set up, and in this video, I'll be making sure that we have our answer animation set up so that when you click on this tick on the screen, the entire answer shows up neatly. And to do that, I'm going to head over to this solution sprite. And what I'm going to do here is, well, we show after we receive start. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that when we click this particular sprite, and you can find that in events. So when the sprite is clicked, I will broadcast a message. But before we do that, it's important to have an if-then condition. Okay, so first, I'm actually going to do both of those conditions and then I'll explain what I'm doing. But you can grab an and a not and put two equal to's inside them. So first, I'll be testing if marking is not null. If marking is not null, and this is where we're going to change the marking. Okay. If marking is not null, and we'll also be checking if can start is equal to yes. I don't think I have to explain what happens, if can start is set to no. It means that the board isn't set up yet and we cannot start, entering stuff. And that's why this is important. But as far as the marking is concerned, that's just going to be like a check here so that once we change it, we can't change it back. So here, I'll be setting marking. So set marking to null. And as a result, we can't press the solution key twice. So set marking to null, and there we go. So that is going to be it. And I'm going to have a little animation showing up. So when we receive init, I'm going to clear all the graphic effects. Okay, so so basically we'll set up a ghost effect, and this is just going to set it back to 0 so that the sprite is visible this way. So right here, I'm going to say set ghost effect, to be about, I'm going to go ahead with 60, but you can play around with this number. And after that, I'm going to broadcast a message called answer. So broadcast, new message, followed by answer. And that is pretty much it. So now when we press the green flag and then we click on it once, this just gets darker and the ghost effect occurs, and it's pretty good. So now I'm going to click the green flag once again, and this time it should appear properly once again. So there we go. That is all you need to do within your solution clicker sprite. And now you need to head over to the other sprites, namely the pen or the pencil, and also a new sprite which we have to create to make sure that the animation works out smoothly. I'm first going to make my changes in the pen number sprite, and it's pretty simple really. So I'm going to zoom out for a second. And okay, that was unnecessary. So all I'm going to do is just like delete clones. I'm going to say when I receive answer, delete this clone. Very simple, and that is all we need. And it's going to be the same thing with the pencil sprite. And I think I call this initial board numbers. Okay, never mind. Yeah, there we go. So this is the pencil sprite, and we can just duplicate this this block of code. And when we receive answer, we will delete this clone. So very simple. So now I'm going to hit the green flag and just write a bunch of things inside them. So let's write 1 and 4, and let's just do something like this. And now when we press the solution key, all of them vanish. Perfect. So that is pretty much what we need to do. And I'm also going to head over to the square and make sure that all of them switch their costume to the initial costume, which is the not touched. So when we receive, so I'm going to duplicate this. When I receive answer, I'll not delete this clone, but I will switch the costume to not touched. Okay. So now let's click the green flag, and let me just select one of the squares at random and then click on solution, and that switches back to the white color of the square. Perfect. So now we can import the new sprite. And that sprite is going to be called, and I think I switched the direction a little bit. So let me just make sure all of that is set back to normal. Alright, so it's 90. So now let me upload a new sprite or import a sprite, whatever you want to call it. And that sprite is going to be called the answers. And we can just import the same thing as pen numbers because the color is going to be pretty much the same thing. And we can rename this answer. Okay, so delete that too and call this answer numbers. There we go. So now when we receive delete clones, we will delete all of this. So we will delete this clone from the control section. And when we receive init, I will make sure that these things hide because we don't want to show any of the clones or the first sprite when we receive any message except when we receive answer. So when we receive init, I will hide. And the main part of this is going to be when we receive answer. So I'm going to duplicate this line of code and I will say when I receive answer. So there we go. So to start this, we need 3 different variables. So the first, actually more than 3 variables, but the first variable is going to be called answer x. So answer x. Then we're going to have another variable called answer y. Okay. Then we need another variable called answer cloned followed by a question mark. So this is a Boolean variable. Then we will need another variable called answer value. So answer value. And then we will need another clone, and this is going to be called answer, not another clone, another variable, and this is going to be called answer number. Okay, and I think this is all we need, but I will add them, add more of them if it turned out that I had forgotten something. So right here, when I receive answer, I will first set answer y to 1, and now I'm going to enter into a nested repeat loop. And to illustrate what I'm doing, I'm going to click on show answer, and you can see that it's not arranged like the board, but we have the entire list of the first item itself having the entire list of the first row. And to do that, to make sure that that translates into a valid output on the screen, you need to do it this way. So I'm going to grab a repeat 9 or repeat 10 and change it to a repeat 9. And then I will duplicate this once again and put it right below. And we will be changing answer y by 1 at the end of this. So I will add that before I forget it. So change answer y by 1. And right at the beginning here, we will also set, set answer x to 1 as well. So we'll set answer x to 1. And then what we can do here is we need to set answer value and answer number. Okay. So answer number is just going to be like 1, 2, 3, 4 and so on, just like the square numbers, but we can actually get it from an x and y. So I'll just press the green flag for a second and let's just take this first square, or not this first square, let's take this square for an example, the square right after the 8 where my mouse pointer is. Now according to the square sprite, that square is going to be square number 12 because this square is going to be 9, this is going to be 10, this is going to be 11 and this is going to be 12. But in our answer, we have only in terms of x and y. So if we want to change it and we want to get 12 from the x and y, because this x is going to be 3 and this y is going to be 2, what we have to do is we have to say set it to, add in a plus here first, and then add a multiplied by in the first one, and then a minus within the multiplied by. Okay, so you have to add in answer x on the second one. And here you can say set answer number to answer y minus 1 and this whole thing multiplied by 9. Okay, and if we just do the math here, answer y, like I mentioned, is 2, so this is going to be 9 plus answer x is 3 and we get a 12, and this is going to work for all of them. You could ideally just change answer x by 1 each and every time we create a clone, or not create a clone exactly, each time we go through this loop, but I just find that this is easier to do. And this is how you get, that particular square number from the answer x and answer y coordinates itself. So now it's time to set up our answer value as well. So I'm going to say set answer value to, and this is going to be slightly simpler, but it's going to be pretty much the same logic. So you can head over to operators and grab this block which says letter 1 of apple, and we'll be making some changes to that. So I will be saying set it to letter answer x of, and here you can grab this block which says item of answer, and you can change this to item answer y of answer. So what this is going to result in is, let's just show the answer list for a second, And if let's just say our answer x is 1, or let's say our answer x is 2 and our answer y is 2 as well. So ideally we'd want to get this 8. So how are we going to get this 8? Well, we are going to say set answer value to letter answer x. So it's going to be the second letter of answer y of answer. So answer y of let item answer y of answer is going to be item 2 of answer in this case. So it's going to be this entire thing, and letter 2 of that is going to be 8. So we get the number this way. And since Scratch really, has operations with strings and numbers just the same way, we don't even have to do any data type conversion. So this thing just works perfectly, and we get our answer value this way. So I will set the answer cloned variable to no here, and clone variable is just a variable that regulates the clone. So it's only going to move on with our code once we've created the entire clone. So I'll set answer clone to be no, and after this I will be broadcasting a message and I will wait. Okay, so this is going to get the coordinates of where we need to move that particular number, just like the way we did for our pen and pencil. So I will say get answer pos or get ans pos, whatever, and wait. And after this I will add an if then. So add an if then, and here I will be continuing only if answer clone variable is still no. If answer cloned is set to yes, then I'm not going to do it at all. And I'll explain why I'm doing this in a second, but just follow me along. So if answer cloned is equal to no, then we will create clone of myself. And if answer clone, and after we pass through this if then, I will simply be waiting until, so wait until answer clone is back to yes. So wait until answer clone is back to yes. And here we also need to change this answer x by 1, because we need the inner loop to constantly be changing its answer x value. So you can just say change answer x by 1. And that is going to be pretty much it. So now if you remember correctly, at the start within our square sprite, we had a variable called editable for every single clone. So if the square had a number in at the beginning, the editable variable was set to no, so that the player couldn't enter a number into that particular square. And as it turned out, that variable is going to be extremely useful to us now. So I'm going to head over to the square and duplicate this when I receive edit check, because there are too many similarities, and you can just change that to get answer pos. And I want to make sure that this code runs extremely fast. So I will make a new block called get answer pos, and you can click this block which says run without screen refresh, because it just helps to have this code running in super fast and we don't really have any changes that we're making on the screen. So I shouldn't really forget to call this function here, and I will also move this to the side. But within this you need to make a couple of changes. So first of all, clone number doesn't have to be equal to current clone. Instead it needs to be equal to the answer not answer value, but the answer number, because answer number, remember, is going to be that particular square which we're on. And after this we can remove these two blocks. Maybe you can keep the set editable to no, because we'll just be setting a variable there. But if editable is yes, then we just need to make sure that the particular clone in the answer has an x and y position to go to. We can just duplicate these two lines of code from our get coordinates function, and we just have the x and y value of the particular spot that we want the number to sit on set up within these two variables. So right back in our answer, we can just have the clone go to this particular, these two particular coordinates, and that will be pretty much it. Now if if editable is set to no, then we need to make sure that no clone is created, because we already have a number on it. And if we don't want a clone to be created, all we need to do is make sure that this particular condition is evaluating to false. And if answer clone is no, then it evaluates to true. So if answer clone is yes, or pretty much any other value, it's going to evaluate to false, and it's never going to create a clone. I'm going to set it to yes so that our loop just continues, and as a result we'll never create a clone of ourselves. So head back to the square. Now we can say if where is that? If answer cloned is if answer cloned is no initially, we just need to set it back to yes, and that would be all we need to do. Now I'm going to head back to the answer, and this isn't alone going to make the clones appear, because like I said, we need to make sure that they go to some particular position. So when I start as a clone, I will go to you can grab this, go to xy, and I will just put in the xpos and ypos variables into those two arguments, I believe. And we also need to make sure that the correct costume is within that, the number switches to the correct costume. And the costume, we have it nicely set up within a variable, and that variable is called answer value. So say switch costume to answer value, and after this we'll need to make sure that the number actually shows, because if it's not shown, then the user isn't going to see anything. So add in a show, and if we leave this alone, the loop is going to get stuck here since answer cloned is going to stay as no. So if we set answer cloned back to yes here, then it's going to evaluate, this loop is going to continue until the clone is completely created. But after this clone is completely created, answer clone is going to be set to yes, and as a result this condition is going to evaluate to true, and then we can move on. And I don't think I made any mistakes here, so I will run my code to test it out. So I'll hit the green flag, wait until everything sets up, and then I'll hit the checker. And as you can see, boom, we have all our answers set up perfectly and our program works beautifully. And I will end this video here. The next video will be the last and final video in the series where we'll finish up the entire game with the thumbnail. But since I'm out of time here, I will have to say goodbye. If you've enjoyed this video, please make sure you leave a like, and also don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.